sent an email to. We ought to send Jack to the court so that there's a little bit of understanding that this is a problem and it has been a problem. The town board hasn't really given me their opinion on that, but it doesn't end with that court appearance. It needs to continue until they get compliant, and if they don't get compliant, they need to go in front of court again on other issues. Because these people have property rights, they have property values, there's other people up on that street that have it, and we've been nice about this for a long time, including me, I think. I've tried to be nice. I said, hey, give him a break, the fence is coming, don't worry about it, the guy's moving out in February supposedly. It's not happening. So we either do something about it or we ignore it until something. I would like to work with Tracy. I'd be happy to work with Tracy. I'd be happy to go up there with Tracy. And we can sit there and talk about all the things that they're in violation of, which is what we did 2 years ago, when Dominic was here. We sat there, we had a list of things that we're gonna work on. These are gonna get done first, and these are gonna get done, and these are gonna get done. And we had a plan in place that never got followed through. And so that needs to be back in place.
What I'm trying to make is that, yeah, you guys did do that, and that was done, and it didn't work, which is why they're in court today, because those things didn't work, because the promises that they made weren't kept, which is why they're in court.
Well, they're in court because they have too many dogs up there, and that's the problem that they've had before, because I know Bob, and I think Tracy, I don't want to speak for Tracy, but I know Bob went up there months ago on the theory that there was more dogs than they should have up there. And at the time, he only saw 2. I don't know whether the breakdown is 2 or 3, and he said you can't have more than 2 or 3 dogs. I know Sue looked it up because I talked to Sue about it.
3 is the Poestenkill.
Is 3 the limit? Okay, so whatever the limit was, I remember talking to Sue one day and Sue said, yep, they've got 3 registered. So they knew that they weren't supposed to have more than 3. They just happened to get caught this time. And these folks almost got injured, or at least got chased down by a dog. So the reality is, what we tried to do before was nice. We tried to be, we try to set a staggered plan in place so that we weren't asking everybody to get everything done at once where it might cost too much money. It didn't work. You're right, it didn't work. But the answer to it not working is to ignore it again. The answer to it didn't work before is we need to go back in front of them and we need to make sure they do it this time.
Well, if you and Tracy want to go up and talk to them, you have my full support.
Okay.
I'm just not holding my breath for anything to improve.
Well, then what needs to be done is when there's talk of things that are code violations, they need to be followed up, and that's why it would be nice to have Jack at these, because if we do what we say we're gonna do, this is not the last time they're gonna get in front of a judge.
I know, but I have to put faith in my town justices to handle the situation. You have to at least give them the opportunity to handle it before.
It's 3 years. It's 3 years
They've
now.
had some time, a lot of time.
That's 3 years of us, not including all the complaints from Mike Tymonson and everyone else up the road, Mark Valentine across the street.
I would tell you before I came here, they were never in court.
They might
They
not
were
be in
there.
court.
From what I
They were
understand.
there
were
the day I started here, they were there because I was delivering food from the school there
Right,
weekly.
from my understanding, from what I heard from other neighbors and so on, the mess didn't start happening until we moved in, which was the spring of 2018.
It was, because they own the property across the street that Mark owns. And then the old man that, I don't remember his name, that lived across,
Yeah.
they moved in
Who
over
owns
there.
the trailer.
And then they just created the same mess. My neighbor had to pull out 9 30-yard dumpsters of trash off his property and is continuing to pull stuff up after like 80 years of them living up there.
Yeah,
Because they just dump everything everywhere. And they're
They
continuing to
never
do
clean
the
it
same thing. They put a tent up last year in March. It's still there.
yeah, it's
Collapsed. Just right there. I can
After
see
they
it on my
spent
property,
days running the leaf blower to clear the space to have the tent and whatever party their children had, days with a leaf blower during the middle of the day.
Just the day.
Okay, then they put up the tent, they have a party that goes all hours of the night, and they just leave the tent and it collapses.
And this is
It's
a
immediately what I see when I wake up in the morning and come down my stairs.
side note on that as well. Is there a noise ordinances for dogs barking for 8 to 10 hours a day?
There is an ordinance.
Okay, tied up to a tree, 2 dogs plus the 3 that they have inside, barking all day.
All
My
day.
neighbor up at, I think, 87 times in, like way up the road, can hear them barking because of the echo factor on the mountain. So there's a lot of
I mean, we
barking,
really just kind of had to
It's
pick our
too much
battles,
involved, yeah.
otherwise I'd be calling them all day, every day.
which is what's gonna happen.
So, because that's, if that's what it takes to
I'd
get
hate
something
to
done
bother
at this
everyone
point,
with
that's
it,
what I'm
but-
gonna have to do.
There you go.
May I say, I was here a couple of years ago when we came in front of the board, and the residents of Twenty Tynerton were here, and it was unpleasant. We had police officers here because of concern for what might happen at that meeting. And at that meeting, and again today, I'm here to tell you, the unpleasant appearance of it is one thing. My concern is the health and safety of the neighbors of these folks. Myself, I won't walk down that road because of these people, but also of the children that live there. There are serious, and you've been there, so you know what I'm
Listen,
talking
they're not
about.
off our radar, believe me, the school principal and I talked a number of times. Members of the business association will tell you, we've dumped quite a bit of money into dealing with mold, dealing with unsanitary conditions.
I would like 3 floors in my house. If
Sure.
you guys are into it,
Yeah,
that'd be great.
because I'm sure we have mold in ours too.
There's a lot
But,
of humidity up there.
You know, we're really just kind of getting into the weeds here because I could talk all day about this. The fact is that we need action and we need it done now. So whether that's, me calling every
How about
day.
you, Tracy gave you
until something happens.
his card, call him tomorrow, have a sit down meeting with him. I'm sure Tracy's amenable to help you all he can, that's all I can
I
tell you,
looked
I
in the
mean,
file, there's nothing in the file about a previous court, but the thing is, we'll issue an order of remedy, which is we'll go up and we'll figure out what they're violating, give them an order of remedy, give them 30 days. If they don't do it in 30 days, then we can write them an issue, a ticket and let the judge deal with it. Right now, they're in court, I think, for the dogs.
Yeah. For
We'll
the
give them an order of remedy. Does that sound accurate, Jack?
In order to get court involvement, there's got to be process.
Absolutely.
That's an appearance ticket.
Yes, sir.
So to the best of your knowledge, there must have been an appearance ticket issued for the dog. right?
Yes, there was.
Recently.
Yeah, who issued it?
Bob,
Bob,
Bob Geyer.
Bob Geyer, okay. In order to get to the next level, there's got to be an arraignment, and there's got to be a plea, usually not guilty, and then there's got to be criminal information filed with the court that says X, Y, and Z. It's got to be done upon personal knowledge by someone.
Yes, sir.
And Bob Geyer would probably have the wherewithal to do that in his own observation. So it's quite a leap to go from just the appearance ticket, because people are presumed to want to obey the law. And if they have defied it before, there's a good indication they probably won't obey it after the first court appearance.
Yes.
So the question is, when do you draw the line to file the criminal information? And it's Egg and Marcus, as I recall. I did a couple over in Sand Lake when I was town attorney over there. And I don't know if there's a criminal charge. I think it's a misdemeanor if you allow your dogs to run wild. But the level of the criminal violation is going to be important, because if it's an infraction, there's really no penalty, it's a fine. If it's a misdemeanor, of course, you're facing
Okay.
potential time.
Yeah.
So I guess I gotta call Bob and see what stage we're.
Yes.
So,
Who's the
just,
judge on it, do you know?
I don't know that. Historically speaking, there was an incident, I think, last summer where we called about the dogs, they're barking at all hours of whatever. What happened, I don't believe Bob was the animal control officer at that time. It was someone else. That person,
Yeah.
whoever it was, misfiled and all the paperwork went to the wrong house. So they never got the summons they were supposed to get from the call that we gave them. So
She had a
we
completely different
unfairly
house.
don't have the
Yeah.
history that we need for this court appearance.
Well, a summons has to be personally served, it can't be mailed.
Whatever it is, it didn't happen.
And she
because-
wanted to mail like a warning letter to him. Yeah,
Yeah, and that, it never happened.
yeah, and
It
it
went to the
went to
wrong
some other
address.
person's house.
And I think,
Is what it is.
Bob was the guy who figured it out.
Yeah.
Cause he was like, I did, you said you called before and I didn't see anything, but then I saw that you called about this address and we're like, well, it definitely wasn't that
Yeah.
address. It wasn't even close. It was almost like it
Anyway,
was
for the
intentional.
first year we were there, I was friendly with the neighbors. I even snow plowed their driveway with my ATV. It's not like we weren't trying. And then I've made multiple attempts with them to say, please keep your dogs off our property. And their excuse is, oh, they're nice. Well, they might be nice to your kids. They might come up. Mama, the old one, she's nice. She barks, growls. Oreo, down the street, wherever he wants to go. And then the two biggest issues,
The two pit bulls.
Yeah, a massive pit bull mix, and then the other one, they're brothers. They're nasty, they're mean, they're nice to the kids because they're family
They're
dogs,
protected.
you know, but they have 6 children, 3 adults, 1 living in a trailer, and 5 dogs inside a 3-bedroom trailer. Health wise, I don't see that being, very well,
But
you know,
that's
as
not what we're here
you've
for.
seen, we're not here for that, but, obviously that, everything encompassing is the biggest issue, so. We can talk about it later, we'll make sure we can talk to Tracy, so I appreciate your time.
So the initial action is to talk to Tracy.
Yeah.
And we'll follow up continuously with him on that. And then we have the court date on the 23rd. And what do we expect to have from that?
Well, I can't tell you because this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Sure.
If there has been an appearance ticket issue, which is probably the case, has that evolved into information being filed? I doubt that. Bob can file an information, but he probably hasn't done so.
So that's the direction we'd like to go then.
Well, that accelerates things.
Yeah, that's
Because
what
the
we want.
courts are generally, they reserve decision for a couple of reasons. One of which is somebody says, I want my attorney. They don't have their attorney for the arraignment, so the court gives them 2 weeks to bring their attorney in. And that could very well be the case, because when you're facing a potential time in jail, you want an attorney there. You don't want to bungle it and wind up in RCJ, eating that food. So, the question really is, I gotta talk to Bob and see what the stage is now.
I have another question similarly related to this property. We know that the old man died back in late winter.
I actually thought they were gonna move out. That's what that means.
That was the hope, but
Yeah, we couldn't be so lucky.
Yeah.
So what is the legality with the children continuing to live there?
not the children, but the whole family in general.
Well, yeah, because it's the daughter and
Is
the
he-
brother in the trailer.
As long as they're paying their mortgage and the taxes are paid.
Yeah.
There's nothing,
Okay.
it's not our business.
Okay.
10-4.
And I'm not saying they are being paid, but until the bank forecloses or
Yeah,
the taxes aren't paid, there's nothing.
okay. I figured as much, but I wasn't sure. All right, thank you for your
They
time.
just go out there and not pay for probably a year.
Please. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, go ahead, sir.
I live on Deer Creek. I'm here to support Scott with the development going on there, but I've got another issue. But I see somebody was talking about trucks and Jake brakes. But it sounded like it was Plank Road. I live on 351 and they're horrendous through here. Once the West Hand Lake plant opened up and started doing blacktop is when everything let loose, and they've got the big trailers. Used to be just going that way. Now it's everything all day long, both ways. They're just running up to the quarry and back. And some of the trucks, the same exact trucks, are nice and quiet. Other ones are just incredibly obnoxious. Like I can't even have my windows open and have, I work from home. I can't even talk on the phone. It's so loud. So I just want to put that out there. I know they were talking about that with Plank Road, but it's also 351 is an issue. And there are cars, there's definitely one obnoxious car that lives up Hinkle that purposely makes noise going through there. Downshifts, every time he's going that way. I'm sure people have heard him in town.
If you get his license plate and call the state police, they will visit him.
Yeah, I talked to the sheriffs already. I didn't have the license plate number, but I'll try and get that.
Same thing with the trucks. I mean, if they're obnoxiously loud, they will get a phone call from the
So
state
it's,
police.
it's the, the blue and orange, the Sand Lake gravel trucks. This is what they are.
Town of Sand Lake?
I don't know.
No.
So it's
Bonds.
Bonds.
Right, Sandy
That's
gravel.
it, orange.
Yes, sir.
I just want to see what an update as far as Kevin Cronin's project. I'm assuming everything's still on hold. He's waiting.
Everything is on hold. He came in last month. He was waiting on a report from DOT. He needed to talk to the health department. And quite frankly, we're still not 100% clear about the zoning. And until he has those answers, I don't know that we'll see him again.
Okay, so that could be scheduled in a couple weeks, is that possibly where I can fall? You saying you might have another,
You'd have to come back to the town board, so it'll be at least a month from now.
okay, so it'll be.
And, I haven't heard anything, I guess.
Okay.
There's some hurdles there.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to keep up, so I don't miss a meeting to fall behind, so.
We'll let you know. There's nothing's gonna happen that fast, I promise you. There'll be a public hearing if we do move it. We're not opposed to the idea, we're just, there's some other questions there. We asked them at the last town board meeting, we haven't heard back yet.
Thank you.
I'm working on the zoning stuff, but clearly
Part of the
that
problem is
was,
our mapping this.
clearly that was not my priority
Yeah.
in the last 4 days, so.
Anyone else like to speak? All right, well, we'll keep the public comment open and at the end of the meeting, before we close, we'll reopen it again. If somebody has something they'd like to talk about. That's fine. Now we'll move on to the town clerk's minutes. Everybody get a chance to review the minutes? I'll take a motion to adopt the minutes as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Very long minutes to sign. We have no presentations tonight. Our correspondence are in your packet. It was main care and charter every week. Move on to our liaison reports. Do we have anyone here from the planning board?
Evening. Okay, in the meeting, the two applicants, Mrs. Gush, Cooper Hill Road, lot major subdivision, Mr. Costa, will make the presentation. There was some questions from the audience, from our audience, and lot looks like 5 and 6, the septic's being moved up front instead of back because of the drainage situation. We're waiting for the registrar to he brought forth a report from North Country Ecological, and that has been submitted.
I just received that.
Okay, so we're waiting for that information coming next meeting. Mr. Cooley proposed a 2-lot minor subdivision on 255. Where the aluminum barn is, and that was approved. That was the second meeting, et cetera. And that was approved. We cut off a piece that borders the back of warrants and homes on warrants, who were notified for his son, and he's retaining the rest back for himself, going back as far as the wood line. And those are the two main items. We also had some information business and talk about the comprehensive plan. Don Heckerman would have been here tonight, but unfortunately, because of the upcoming situation with the coal surgery, he's taking a very low profile. So it's not to have anything push back that surgery.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy that Thomas is moving forward. I've known since he's, so thank God. I'm happy.
His son's moving in.
Yeah, I'm happy to see him move back to town. It's a good family. He's a good kid. Zoning board, anyone from the zoning board? I guess you're it.
I need a raise. The report is very brief. There was no meeting, if there were no items in front of us this month.
Perfect. That was a great presentation. Thank you. Fire company, anything to add? We had your report.
Just, we had a good car show, I guess, 226 cars pending.
Wow.
So it was.
I heard it was a
the
huge
biggest one,
success.
so.
Hot. It was hot, very hot. Anyone here from the library? There we go.
The library's new director, Amanda, starts on September 8th. Also, Fall Market Day is going to be on the 11th this year of September. And we're also celebrating the 20th anniversary on September 18th for the library.
I met the new director, Tiffany introduced me. She seems very pleasant.
Yes, very, yeah. Looking forward to having her.
All right, anybody from the youth advisory, Tiffany?
Camp is over. it was successful. Parents are asking for more weeks of camp, so gonna kind of see if that could potentially be a possibility for next year.
I would like to say that I'm extremely proud of our camp. It is the largest camp in Westchester County run by towns. The fact that we joined with Sand Lake saved us some money. Tiffany was able to get 3 of the field trips paid for Poestenkill, and because we combined with Sand Lake, she also doubled it with Sand Lake, so she got 6 of the field trips covered. Some of the busing. The kids were happy. I've heard nothing but happy parents. They did a lot. Next year, I talked to Tiffany about maybe adding 3 days in the beginning of the year and 2 at the end, to give another week. I know she has trouble keeping counselors once college starts, but maybe we can expand it another week next year. But it was a great camp. If you got to go over there and see it, you would have been amazed. She had the cooperative extension down there doing science projects, shooting rockets in the air, and it was quite a camp fun. She did a phenomenal job. I can tell you that my grandkids came home exhausted every single day. And my only disappointment, honestly, is the busing. We had spent probably $8,000 more on busing than we needed to. And that could have gone to scholarships for kids that we actually had to turn away. We had more kids that wanted to come that couldn't, and some that couldn't afford to come that could have if we didn't spend the money on the busing. If we also supplied lunches to 70-some kids every day. So she doesn't mention everything she does, but it was a great camp and a bright part of our town. Thank you. CAC, anyone from CAC? All right, that's our liaison reports. We're gonna move on to the POFOA update, and we're gonna look at Bob for that.
Good. I'll make this as brief as I can. There's 3 things I want to discuss with you. One, the latest on EPA. I want you to understand where we're going with this because it's going to get hotter. Secondly, the status of the homes that we tested. You may recall that Keith and Eric and myself got together with the county and the state. We didn't have the money for it. It's over $8,000 for these tests. The 10 houses that have said they'd like to be tested. That testing went on today. It will carry on the beginning of next week. Take 3 weeks to get the results back from the lab. So that's moving in the right direction. I also want to talk about what I plan on doing. Representing the town on this. Next, we have a very good working relationship that's serving us well between Richie Elder, the county, Justin Deming, the state, and ourselves. I've said to Justin last week, the news, I won't take you through it all now, but you know, the standard is 10. Hoosick Falls was 18,000 parts per trillion to 28,000 parts per trillion. We have the lowest in the nation at 10 parts per trillion. The school came in at 12 parts. So they have an obligation to do something there. Based upon that, we put 3 articles on our website. I encourage you to read at least the last 1 or 2 if you haven't. They've helped us significantly because of the 3 newspaper articles that were in the paper in the last 2 weeks. I've had many phone calls and emails, mostly from the Algonquin Beach Estates people, but not limited to that. I've had calls the calls generally come into Sue or Tiffany now, and they get transferred down to me. I've had calls from Sand Lake residents that are not in the town of Poestenkill. One woman said, Bob, how come Sand Lake isn't telling us? She said, I called them. They're not telling us anything. She said, we've looked at your town website, and so the publication of information is important. From Poestenkill perspective, I think it's going well. What I said to Justin this last week, I said, Justin, there's no reason I have to believe that if the school came out at 12, even though it's only a little bit over 10, to believe that our homes surrounding the area are going to be any different. I said, if it comes over 10, the first thing I'm going to do is come back to you and expand the testing. I'd like to know, particularly the Algonquin Beach Estates is one that I mentioned, and I would like the state to pay for that. I don't have a commitment as we did on the other but I believe it will be there. Secondly, I will update the website as soon as we get the results. It's about 3 weeks from now, because that publication of information is important. If you read those newspaper articles, you'll notice not one of them was negative, frankly, to the actions that have been taken. And that's not coincidental. The second thing I said to Justin is, look, even if the result comes in less than 10, if it's 0, fine. But if it comes in 3 or 4, I want to know what is causing the problem. And there are a lot of rumors out there. Rumors from the old racetrack to the town dump to waste management, you name it. So I've been doing a lot with the DJ's help and the records that he has. Thank you. We will get more results out of that. The state does not know, the county does not know, and I certainly don't know what's causing that problem. So that's another question and where I'm planning on going with that. Now, this is very important, what I'm saying now. I attended, I go on a lot of webinars, you learn something. I attended a 1-hour session yesterday on the update by the EPA on the PFASs, specifically, and things I didn't know. The Hoosick Falls, they talked about possibility of up to 12 different versions of the PFOA, PFAS, etc. The testing that we did down next to St. Gobain, which came out 0, incidentally, addressed it to that. Right now, and this is one of the printouts from that meeting yesterday, so this is not hearsay. There are over 5,000 known PFAS compounds that are not currently included in the EPA standards. There are only 36 compounds that presently are included in that standard. Clearly, there's a 10-state team that has been assembled under the lady that put this presentation together, the doctor. And Hoosick Falls from New York is going to be our representative area. They are going to be coming with more requirements. Now, I'm going to make a declarative statement, which I am going to put in writing in the next month. I personally think if we go the route of the GACs, granular activated charcoal, as opposed to Troy water, I think we're making a mistake. That's not only my own personal opinion. The article I mentioned in June, there was an article in the paper recently by Judith Enck. She worked with the EPA, and it was specifically addressing Hoosick Falls, because Hoosick Falls, their mayor, if you read what he said, oh, great, we're going to be able just to keep the GACs, and that's going to solve our problem. Not so, because the GACs will not handle all of those 36. They being EPA, have established what they now call novel compounds. The old product, which was manufactured and used because of its manufacturing capabilities, is no longer permitted, hasn't been permitted for years. So the new product that is in manufacturing use today will not all be handled by the GACs. What Judith said in that publication, and I've been loud on this because I'm trying to get people to understand it. What she said is correct. She recommended in writing, I've got the article, I've given it to the town board in last couple of meetings. She said that we should use the groundwater from Troy for Hoosick Falls. No decisions on that has been made. And my objective is not only Hoosick Falls, but it's a similar situation. My objective certainly is the school. We are not, I've been on conference calls and had numerous communications with them, but there is no decision yet. I have a strong feeling that the decision, because GACs are less expensive and they're faster, I think that's what they're going to be looking for. I said on a conference call with 12 people on a conference call with people from Sand Lake and the school administration, I said, Aaron, the fellow who does this, I said, as soon as one of these other compounds comes in, you're gonna be the guy and you're gonna have to do something different. If this is a temporary stopgap measure, look at it that way, that's fine. But the other, and we've gone a lot further than that in terms of pressure, volume readings and everything else to know the ability to be served from us. So my point is this, Keith. I think, and I have no axe to grind, no dog in the fight. However, the right thing for the school and anybody else that's interested in this is to hook into our water through Troy. Chris Whelan is a fellow, he just got a $20 million grant. You saw it in the paper a few weeks ago. $20 million. Troy is served from the reservoir with two pipes, a 30-inch pipe and a 33-inch pipe. He just got $20 million towards his total $40 million, and they're replacing those with 36-inch pipes, which I'm happy to hear. He said, Bob, he called me, they sent me an email. I sent a copy to Keith. He said, hey, Bob, I'll help you. We'll help you do grant writing. There's lots of Biden's proposal, and some of it approved already, is in the billions of dollars. One of the main thrusts of that is to safe water. Okay, we have a lot of
Rush about, but we're actually gonna have another time to report as well.
okay.
Just to let you know, I agree with you. The school should be hooking into our water. They hired an engineer that said that the route they should be taking is their own filtration system. I agree with you, but I can honestly tell you that I think the school is so mismanaged right now that they're gonna go with the filter system. Right now, the leadership of that school it's sad.
I didn't want to say it quite so bluntly publicly.
I will, because it just cost us $8,000.
I have talked with the engineer. There's a female engineer out of Syracuse, I think it is. And I took all sorts of 2 weekends, pressure readings, flow readings, and I sent her a copy of our map so she'd know how, and fully agrees with it. But I hate to see a wrong decision made.
It's gonna be made.
We're never gonna have a better opportunity to spend money than now. Okay, enough.
Listen, part of our funding could be used for water and the school as well. They're just mismanaged. That's all I can tell you. If we ran this town the way the schools we run, none of us would ever get reelected. That's the honest to God truth. All right, let's move on to reports. Supervisor report, you've all heard from me. I just want to add one more note. During that 4.5-inch storm, many people had damages. There was a couple on Center's Corner Road that lost their driveway. The mother's in a wheelchair, and the son that has disabilities. Many people volunteered to help. The business association, Tracy spent a whole day busting his ass over there. Paints installed the culverts. The culverts miracle just showed up. Thank you, Tracy. And the driveway get done, and I just wanted to thank Tracy for all his work. Thank you. That was a good deed. Basically, that's my report. I've blabbered on long enough. Jack?
Well, there's some ongoing litigation, which has a component that's criminal and a component that's civil. It's been somewhat time consuming, and Tracy's helped me out with Measure B as well, as has Jim Water. I want to thank you both. And discuss that further for the town board wishes.
We need to go to executive session for a number of things.
One little assignment that was given at the last meeting was Jake breaks, that speaks to your issue. It's a very difficult problem everywhere. People live adjacent to a highway, and it's difficult to regulate. It's difficult, if not impossible, to regulate. So I'll boil it down. The issue essentially is that you can't outlaw them because the defense would be that emergency situations, they need to use the brake in emergency situations. So there is a provision in the state B&T law right now that could be broadly interpreted to apply to that. But again, you gotta cite them, we're gonna give them a ticket, they gotta go into court, and they have to show the judge, that there was an emergency, that would be their defense. So it would be a traffic infraction. Now, Scotticoke was mentioned last meeting of having a statute on the books. That's not true. I spoke to the clerk, treasurer, and Cheryl Jackson, who was very, very helpful. They had an issue a few years ago where they wanted to solve it, and so they did what we all do. They go to the Department of Transportation, they try various methods to try to resolve this problem. And DOT told them essentially what I just said is a safety issue. And once you start contingent upon that, there could be conceivably some liability on the town for prohibiting it, number one. And number two, it's really unenforceable. So with those two provisions and difficulties in mind, what Scotticoke did was they put up road signs with the permission of DOT that was sort of advisory, please don't use your brakes. And they commissioned a firm called Echo to give them those road signs, and then they posted them, their highway department posted the road signs. And she didn't really indicate whether they were helpful or not, but that's all they could do, that's the best they could do for that problem. Now, somebody mentioned last meeting too, that motorcycles, for example, are equally as loud. There's really no provision that would allow you to stop them, ticket them. So it's all over the place. I've done some research. I've got a nice packet here. If anybody wants to share it, I made an extra copy. And the Midwest has a problem. There was a couple of statutes passed out there, and they're really essentially, again, unenforceable. So it's a difficulty that I don't really think there's a solution to.
Maybe that's why when Dominic was supervisor, he just sent letters to all the big companies asking if he asked drivers to refrain from as much as possible.
We could put up signs. I'm not sure how effective they'll be, but if the board would like to go that route.
Well, I don't think I can put signs on the county or the state roads without their
No, I
permission.
gotta get permission.
You know what I mean? Because
I got a call in the DOT today and yesterday and the day before, they just don't call me back. And I also have a call into the county engineer to try to get permission in the event you want to do that. You want to do that.
Yeah, it's up to the board. I quite honestly think we'll be wasting our money. I don't think they're gonna pay any attention to them. You can put up any sign you want, but if it's not enforceable, why bother?
Would a smart attorney or a smart company just come to any court like you just said and say, well, that was an emergency, and then it would be kind of up to the judge to try to have to decide whether it was or wasn't? Is that
Well,
kind
it
of
depends
point?
on, sorry, it depends on the circumstances of the stop.
Right.
I mean, you're gonna have to have somebody parked there to actually hear it, so you gotta have a witness that heard it. And so that's difficult.
Yeah.
And then if somebody hears it, it's a violation, conceivably our sound ordinance could, our noise ordinance could apply. But then you gotta get somebody in the court, she says, it's all over the place. And then they bring their corporate guy in, he says, no, these are equipped for emergencies, and so therefore we need them. And then the judge throws up his hands and says yea or nay. So it's gonna be a determination based upon the facts of the case.
Right.
So it can't be blanketly.
Maybe we could just, if try saying they're gravel, we can identify as one company, so we can just ask them kindly if we ask the drivers.
I can send them a letter if that's what you like.
I think that'd be a good start.
I can send Roddy Glenny
Yeah.
and Mr. Payne and send everyone a letter.
Yeah, just as a start and see how that goes. You'll hear it in your office, whether it works or not.
You know how deaf I am from tractors? Yeah, all right, I'll try to put a letter together and send it to the larger ones. Is that what the board like me to do? Yeah. All right, town clerk's report. Do you have it in front of us here? We can just look at it.
During the month of July 2021, town clerk took in $25,246.91. Of that amount, $24,998.95 was turned over to the supervisor.
Make a motion to accept.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you, Harold. Assessors report? Okay. Water manager, Bob, is there anything that we didn't cover that?
Just one thing I want to share with you. Everything, testing, everything is going good. We have 14 new installations this period, moving ahead with the PDD, if that happens, and with the proposed subdivision on 355. We've done all the calculations. They both set up fine, no problem. We had a water problem. I still have a water problem, but much less. You may recall, I got permission from the board to bring in New York leak detection. They found 2 leaks, Hinkle Road and fire hydrant down opposite the town garage. At that time, I anticipated for you that we're going to save a little over $50,000. I believe in the proof is in the pudding. We take daily from a computer at the pump station, the daily pump reading. In the beginning of the year, and I shared this with the New York auditors the other day, gave them copies of this. In the beginning of the year, and I have every one, it was about 103,000, 104,000, 102,000 gallons. Then in June, it shot up. The June average was 131,000 gallons a day. That was when I said, that's it, we got to bring somebody else in. They came in and Chip Cronow did the repair job on the 13th of July. Excellent work, incidentally. So I have data that says 131,000 before that, not one day, but a month and a half. And I have a month and a half data subsequent to that. Here's this month's from the 1st through cumulative 19th, 101,000. Bottom line, 131,000 per day, 101,000 is 30,000 gallons. If I take 30,000 gallons, multiply it per day, saved by 365, and it costs us basically $5 a thousand gallons. That's $56,575 we saved. So I thank you for your support. It's working out. We're going to keep going.
I'm glad we're fixing it, Bob, but honest to God, I still don't understand how they were allowed to install such shitty work and cost this town this much money, and we cannot legally go back after them. They knew they were doing it wrong. They purposely did it wrong, and they have cost this town so much money, and it is so disappointing to me that we cannot sue them.
Well, I wish we had the support, because I sat in this room and every major cable failure, 2 o'clock in the morning, midnight, I was out there with a camera, had files on every one, and the prior attorney and prior management were not willing to go with it. I testify on my own engineering all the time outside. I was happy to go with it, but it was not happening. That's too late now.
I know it's too late, it's just, it is so aggravating. All right, let's move on. Building inspector,
My report is that
it was a nice report, thank you. Dog control, he's not here. We are gonna go into executive session, but you're up next.
Perfect. I'm good. I'll talk to you in executive
Well,
session.
we'd like to thank you and your crew for your work.
No problem. It's
You
all
guys
here
were
for.
phenomenal. We did get a letter from the union. They would like to start negotiations, so we're gonna have to talk about that as well. But nothing's glaring at me, but just make sure the guys know.
I will let them know.
I did see that they were sweeping off Quail Meadows today,
Paving tomorrow.
maybe
I'm
tomorrow.
gonna put an 1.5 inch binder down tomorrow. And we'll monitor it for a few months and then probably do the top October.
Accounting report will be Michelle, but since she's not with us tonight, we're gonna blow that one off. We might be able to have that for you at our next town board meeting. We are gonna have to have a special town board meeting in a couple weeks here, so we'll talk about the date. We don't have any budget transfers. So I will reopen the public comment period. If anything came to anyone's mind that they'd like to speak about, that they didn't have an opportunity before, no, you can't.
I didn't have anything additional to add. I just wanted to give you guys copies of the emails that I've had that you all can have some nice reading with all of the previous communication I've had.
Thank you.
Thank you. Certainly done your homework.
Oh, yes.
You want to give me one more word now? No.
Thank you.
So next would be the payment of the bills, and we always look to pay for this.
I propose that we pay the town and highway bills of $86,565.09.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
You big spender.
Aye. And then move that we pay the water bills of $8,206.77.
For a second. All in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. That would conclude our meeting. We are going to the executive session. We have a very long executive session. We are dealing with personnel matters, legal matters, and we will be coming back out of the executive session and taking some action on some of the personnel matters. Nothing dripping here that you need to stay for, but if you want to stay, you can leave and then come back. But I can tell you that most all our personal matters are, we'll be dealing with Tiffany's new job responsibilities for, and that's basically it, so. Thank you everyone for coming out. Be safe.
Before camp next year, you're gonna do it. I didn't realize there was that many people that want to go and couldn't afford it. I'd like to do something like that next year.
Next year too,
On a personal basis.
I want to figure out how to get the fire department involved. Can you get through? I want to get the smoke trailer or whatever, you know, where you come through that. And then the kids that came over from Fan Lake, they're like, oh, we used to like when the fire truck would come and spray down. So I was like, oh, maybe we can figure out those pieces first. We did.
But I mean, on the financial, you know.
Okay,
I mean, I
perfect.
could
Thank
put
you.
up something,
Yeah.
you know, in my son's name or something.
Yeah, perfect.
Won't be a lot, but it'll help a few anyways.
But it's even like when I did pictures of the Easter bunny.
Because how much is camp?
It's, so this year is 105.
Okay.
It's gonna go up to about 120, which is minimum wage. And,
Yeah.
but like I did pictures of the Easter bunny this year. I covered a kid scholarships in 2 hours of taking pictures, you know, with so just simple stuff like that.
I'd like to do something.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. Okay, thanks. Hello. Good.
So did you resign?
How we doing?
Lester?
I thought you looked familiar.
Yeah, so I'm going.
Hi, Tiffany.
Right on.
Bye.
I didn't know you were
Come on, see you guys, look for some bunks.
Good talking with
I'm
you.
You're gonna start,
gonna sub some
negotiations.
days.
Ironically, and I was sitting there and said
I
that.
don't want.
Heather must be in
Good luck
shop.
with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, she knows, but she knows she
How's
can use me
retirement?
as a sub,
That's
and
good.
we'll figure
Just
those
give you
pieces
something to
out
do,
and
you know,
everything.
and I like this.
So you work for the town?
You know, I
So,
support
yeah,
all
so
you
with
guys
everything,
and
even
ours,
before all of this
because we're
happened,
trying
I was
to
gonna be about 3 days a week at the town, and for about the same amount of money that I was.
We appreciate it.
TAing, so I'm like,
Yeah.
it's
Trying
the
everybody,
smartest
So
move.
what are you officially for the
I'm
town?
always,
So
always-
obviously summer
I've been
camp,
accused of.
and then I'm Sue's deputy for
now that
town
I'm on
clerk,
town board,
and then I'm
supposed to be
planning and
called
zoning clerk.
representing the
So I
town.
have like my hands
And
in
I
a lot,
disagreed
and
with the
clearly
town
I'm
about
about
So you're in
to
this
like
building a lot.
Yeah.
Feminist.
Good for
So,
you, Tiffany.
yeah.
Where do you
I
live?
said, I'm
right
not
now?
changing.
I'm still right on Leather
Good to see you. Take care.
Okay,
Good luck.
okay, good.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. That's great. I saw you. I thought you were here for.
Bye, Jack, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
I figured you were, you know, to here for the camp. I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, no, I got my hands in a lot of
Yeah,
pots
yeah.
right
Well,
now.
congratulations.
Thanks.
That's wonderful. And I'm here to, because I'm running for ledge too, so.
Oh, yeah.
See you later.
Thank you. Harold,
Okay.
are you still there?